Coming at you from the frozen tundra that is East Central Alberta, Canada, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Float, Odyssey, Telegram, Twitch, and the Prepper Broadcast Network. Welcome back to the workshop, where we create community, find freedom, promote preparedness, and share success. I am Toolman Tim, and today is October the 6th, 2022, and this is episode 180 of the Workshop Podcast. Well, it's been a hot minute, hasn't it? This is great. Glad to have you back, guys. Here I am. Chris Dixon says, welcome home, Tim. Smash that like button on your way in, folks. It is great to be back. I missed it. You get a nice break for a couple of weeks. Not that I needed a break, but I ran myself ragged all across the countryside, and I am back. Hey, Ken Esch. Seems like just yesterday we were at SOE chatting away, but here we are. Now we are multiple thousands of kilometers or miles away at this point. 3-day drive to make it back, guys. We're going to jump in tonight to a whole bunch of things I learned. Thanks, Mr. Dixon. We're 5x5 over on Telegram. Whole bunch of things I learned in my 18-day epic road trip. But the most important thing this evening is, why are you slurring your words? No, what are you drinking this evening? Well, when I came back, Becky surprised me with this 12-year-old single malt Scotch whiskey. I'm not going to attempt to try to pronounce that name, but it is there in case anybody's wondering. And it is smooth and sweet, and it has a tingle on its way down. So first off, let's get the announcements out of the way. Tactical Patch of the Month Club. Thank you for everyone who signed up while I was on my travels. It was huge. Patch number 2 went out today, so I'm excited about that. But more importantly, if you are interested, sign up. The easiest way is patchofthemonth.co. Run by there. That is the best way. If you believe that I give you value every month and you want a way to support that, this is the easiest way. Plus, you get something valuable. If you look anywhere, patches are about $10 a piece. And they were a huge seller at Prepper Camp and at Self-Reliance Festival. So if you were on the live stream, check this out. Here it is. I can go and show you this right now. Been prepping since Y2K. This was the very first patch that went out, and I sold a bunch of these at Prepper Camp. People were real excited about it. So there it is. If you're interested, sign up. I would love it. I would be happy if it took me an entire day to fill all the Patch of the Month orders. But today was a good day. Spent the morning doing that. And on to announcement number 2. Hey, Hunter, my favorite so far, he says, so the entire first run of Toolman Tim or Workshop Silver Coins has sold out. I actually oversold by one, which was fine because I held a couple back for my own personal collection. So I dipped into that. I cannot believe the support you guys gave me. It's exciting. So we're doing a second run. Brian and I are going to go halves again. So you'll see another run from Lots Project. Yes, Ken Esch. Do you take crypto for Patch of the Month? Friggin' right, I will. I'm just getting Lightning up and running. Carrie says, hey, buddy, glad you're home safe. Thanks, friend. I didn't have enough time to talk to everybody. But yes, Ken, I gladly will take Lightning, Bitcoin. Those are the big ones. But if there's something else, message me. I'll even barter for it. I love it. So the first run of the silver coins is totally sold out. Thank you guys for your support. It was rather exciting. So we're doing a second run. The second run is going to be an inverse. So we're getting a new die that is going to be the same logo, but it'll be a set in logo instead of a set out logo. Out. Yeah, there it is. Now, I'm pretty excited. Same price, $75 for the set. You'll get an ounce coin and a half-ounce coin. Patch members will get the same discount as last time. If you didn't get any or anything like that, doesn't matter. And somehow my chat just the video stream just ended over on Telegram, guys. I didn't even do it. So I apologize. I don't know what's wrong with Telegram lately, but here we are. So anyway, thank you guys. If you want to get on the pre-order list, send me an email, send me a message, whatever it is, and I will add you. It's going to be the same run this time. Going to be somewhere in the ballpark of 15 to 20 sets available. So if you want to get in early, let me know. Now, here's the next big one. If you are in the Telegram group, and I know I got a lot on the go here, guys, but There's so much damn exciting stuff on the go. I am really excited. That's it. Brian accidentally ended it for me here, guys. So we're going to restart. And if you hear a little bit of hoop-de-law in the background there we go. That should be good. Thanks, guys. All right. So here is the big one. For almost 2 years now, I have had a vision, a dream, and I've talked about this to a few people that I want to put together my own in-person event, similar to what Jack and Nicole and that kind of stuff do. So I'm excited. So almost 2 years ago, I set a goal of 2023 summer. That is when it's going to happen. So here's the official, unofficial announcement at this point, but it is going to be called the Northern Self-Reliance Workshop. It is going to be in my town, and it is going to cater to the Western Canadians for the most part, but a whole bunch of things. I'm excited. That's all I'll let you know for now. Pre-sale for the tickets is going to launch January 1st. There'll be a discount for Patch of the Month Club members, of course, if any of you end up coming up this way. Good news while I was gone was that the Canadian border removed all restrictions for coming and going. So now if the U.S. does the same thing, it'll be a free anyway. So not getting into that this evening, but I just wanted to let you know. Making it public. You guys know, Ken says, now I definitely need my passport. Yes, I would love for you to come up and speak, Ken. That'd be friggin' awesome. So this has been a goal for a while. And you guys know that if I make something public, I make it happen. And it will happen. Actually ran into Mama Sauce. That's Nicole's mom while I was down there. I was telling her about it. And she said, you know, Tim, when you say you're going to do something, you actually do it. So for what it's worth, it's going to happen. I'm excited. So here it is. I already been talking to the kids about it, and they're excited about helping out. But anyway, that's it. January 1st, the tickets will go on pre-sale. Chris is excited too. I know I am. And finally, Prepper Camp was incredible. I did a follow-up episode to that. But the best part about it was meeting my brothers and sisters, fellow content creators from the Prepper Broadcast Network. It was awesome. We had a great time. We recorded a wonderful live episode. If you guys haven't heard that, we did it around a picnic table in the dark at the campsite, and it was awesome. So if you guys are interested in checking that out, I will throw the link in the description after, but drop by and support all of my fellow brothers and sisters over there. I'm on Element this evening. I'm live streaming audio only on the Prepper Broadcast Network like every Thursday night. Everything is working great there as well. So anybody have questions about the trip, anything like that, throw it on. And Hunter says, change your AC filters. That's my preparedness talk. Thanks for coming. Yes, that was a good one. That was short and sweet and to the point. And I guess I'll throw out one more thing. If you are going to the Survival Podcast Fall Workshop, I'm going to be there as well. In just over a month, my ass is going to go into the car again because I'm a sucker for punishment. And I'm going to drive straight to the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm going to have a hell of a time, and I'm going to drive straight back. So it will be great. So there we are, guys. We get that out of the way. Today's tool is my man purse. Yeah, my wife rags on me all the time. So a while back, every time I'd go to the mall and I needed to carry shit, I'd always throw out my wife's bag. She'd get so mad at me. So I finally ordered an over-the-shoulder bag, basically a fanny pack that goes over my shoulder. And it sucked. It came from Amazon. It was a piece of junk. It did the trick, but I knew it would not last. So when I got to special operations equipment, I picked up a crossbody bag. It's awesome. Black multicam, just like I like. It was $125. And the thing, I think you could tow a tank with it. So if you're interested, I threw the link in the description. There's no affiliate or anything there, but I just wanted to let you know that some of that stuff was awesome. So piping, I got some questions here. I got one from Carrie and one from Piping. I'll jump right into those because this is more a laid back episode. Chris Dixon, I am going to answer your question down the road here. He said, how many Gatorade bottles did you fill? Well, I did set a personal record of driving 8 hours without stopping. That was the first time I've ever done that. So you can use your imagination, but I would say the over-under is 3. So Pipin wants to know, how is the Ram for long-haul travel vehicle? It was incredible. I loved it. The Ram it's really comfortable. The seats are great, especially I just have a little bit of a back adjuster for your lower back if you get that in there. Yeah, It's wonderful. It has a ton of room. What I like is in the back seat that there's this bar that folds down when you flip the seat up that makes a nice flat space so you can put a lot of your more expensive stuff in there. It's easy access. It's just a joy to drive. I would love, hopefully the next Ram that we get will have the adaptive braking that I've had on a couple of rentals, because that's the only thing that I missed about it. But it was still great. I mean, doing 85 miles an hour on I-29 and it's just beautiful. Barely feel like you're moving. It's just an overall comfortable vehicle. I've taken a couple of long road trips in Rams before, but yeah, this was really good. And it will be again. Yeah, Chicken Hawk says, did you do it without cruise control? No. Yeah, I have to have cruise control. I love cruise control. And yeah, it's great. Start early in the morning to get going. Anyway, Carrie wanted to know, did I see anything weird on the road? Oh boy, nothing weird. So I got a list down the bottom there of about 10 or 15 of my favorite memories that I have of the trip. So I'm going to share those with you. Some interesting things I saw. Weird, I don't know. I went through some tobacco farms, which were pretty cool. Kentucky was interesting for sure. Not that bad though. Just, when you get down between Kentucky and Camden, you get on the back roads of the highway. Those were kind of interesting. I saw the biggest rack on a moose. Had to pause there for a minute, that I've ever seen. Never had a deer or anything run out in front of me the entire trip. And I was about 2 hours from the Canadian border, and this massive moose ran out in front of me. So it was a good one. Other than that, odd things, I'm not sure, but we will, we'll keep sharing. So Chris says, with all those early starts, you should have some really bitchin' sunrise sunset pics. So here's something about my trip, guys, that I decided right from the beginning. I decided to put my damn phone away. Well, not put it away, but not take pictures. I normally take a metric shit ton of pictures on trips, and I did at the events, but while driving and stuff, I decided that I was going to let the things I saw live in my memory. It might sound weird or strange, but this is what I decided this time. I was going to experience the stuff I experienced. I was going to bring it back, and the stuff that stuck with me for a reason. So how many cars on the side of the road? Not too many. I was lucky. I never got stopped the entire time for an accident. I did see a couple of nasty ones on the opposite side of the meridian, so that was interesting. Broke down cars that you could tell had been sitting there for a while. Yeah, that was a pretty common thing. Driving through the Smoky Mountains was a lot of fun too. I love that. I'm going to touch on that a little bit down the road. So I'm going to share with you some tips that I figured out, things I've known beforehand, traveling long distances. But my last full day on the road, I did some serious brainstorming. I spent a lot of time using voice to text to brainstorm for this episode, to brainstorm for my live event I'm going to do, to brainstorm for my next set of silver I'm going to do. I had about 6 documents, as long as the notes are for this show, coming back, because it was time to absolutely knock a few things out of the park. And of course, whenever you leave an event like that, you're always motivated. Whether you're the one doing the motivating or someone else is, you're still going to be motivated. So in no particular order, let's work our way through these tips. I hope you enjoy them. Feel free to throw out as many questions as you want as I go, guys. I always enjoy taking the time to answer them for you. Also, my buddy Ken, if you're still on here, if you guys haven't had a chance to listen to his presentation, it's live on his YouTube channel as well. So Ken, if you're out there and you want to post a link, feel free, because everybody should hear it. I still haven't listened to it yet, so I'm kind of a slacker this time. And a road trip ready series, from vehicle check to tools, Pipin says. And Brendan Clark, North Carolina mountains are beautiful this time of year. Yes. So here's the thing. I've spent some time in the Rockies. The Rockies are taller and more imposing than the North Carolina mountains, but those mountains are like they grow right on the road. I don't even know how to explain it. Kentucky Sustainable Living. Evening, Tim. Great to have you. I haven't noticed this icon in here before. So, and Ken says it'll be on his podcast tomorrow. So yes, so those mountains, the Smoky Mountains, it's like they encroach right on the road. It's the craziest thing, and the twists and turns are way worse. If you've never gone that far east and that far south, do yourself a favor and take a trip through the Smoky Mountains. I was blown away. Coming back, it was dark, We'll talk about that in a bit. So here's the first tip I stumbled upon by accident this time, but travel with your own pillows. Excuse me, guys. So I took my own pillows because I was going to be camping, but I discovered that if I used my own pillows in the hotel, I didn't get nearly as sore a back as I normally do. And I was always blaming it on hotel mattresses, but I think it was the shitty hotel pillows, which worked great until I left my pillows in the hotel in Tennessee when I came home. So there you go. But yes, so always travel with your own pillows. Not something I ever did before. The old man in me seriously appreciated it. Jason Sparks, right on. I thought I recognized that logo. I like that a lot. Is that a little sheep with an army helmet on and a pitchfork, it looks like. So number 2, do not go. This is a rule I broke twice on the trip, and both times I regretted it. Do not go below half a tank of fuel. So I would, hey, Rachel Brown, good to have you. I would tend about 4 hours I could get in on my truck for half a tank of gas, which was just about right for me to have to stop. But coming home, I won't even tell you about the first one. It wasn't a big deal. But coming home, I decided I was going to drive basically straight from Minot to Saskatoon, which was about 6.5 hours. I really, really, really pushed it. Beyond pushed it. So I kept saying, okay, I'm going to wait a little longer. I really wanted to get to Saskatoon, and I under or overestimated. So I was down to about 15 kilometers of distance left in my tank when I finally found a gas station. Don't do it. There's no reason for it. I was just in the zone. There's nothing better than being in the zone and driving and thinking and writing, or talking to your phone, listening to Turbo on Sirius XM radio. Love that station. You get 90s and 2000s hard rock and heavy metal. My favorite station at this point. But anyway, just don't do it. There's no reason not to. And just stop every 4 hours and do it. If you need to do your business in a Gatorade bottle, well, I won't hold it to you. Carrie says, I grew up in those mountains, and those roads still result in the pucker factor. Absolutely. They are some twisty, turny highway roads. Hey, apartment prepper. If you haven't watched my presentation from Self-Reliance Festival, I mention you in it, apartment prepper, just in case you're wondering. But yeah, very much appreciate it. Piping, half tank, half bladder, empty and fill. Absolutely. Number 3, wash your windshield every time you stop. And don't forget to clean off your headlights. This is something that a lot of people forget. Now, if they're really dirty and really full of mud, don't be that guy and don't use the windshield washer for it. They usually have paper towel there, so give them a wash. If they're just kind of foggy, then yeah, go ahead and use it. But if there's dirt and gravel on them, don't do it, because you're going to scrape somebody's windshield. But for me, half a tank takes 2 or 3 minutes to fill up. So I just wash one side, wash the other, squeegee one side, squeegee the other, and that's it. And you will thank yourself for it, especially early in the morning or late in the evening when there's a glare and all those pasty, nasty old bugs are on your windshield. Do yourself a favor and do it. Start early. Give yourself time. Things will happen. And if it doesn't, so what? You show up early or you keep driving. I'm an early riser anyway. My very first day in the trip, I hit the road by 3:45. My last 2 days of this trip, my first 2 days of the return trip, I was on the road by 4 and 4:30. I slept in until 5:30 the next day. But if you start early, you'll never regret it. I like chasing the sun. So get up early, get on the road 3-4 hours before the sun rises, and then finish up by 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon. Coming back, I split my trip into 10, 10, and 10, 3 10-hour days. I went to Omaha, Minot, North Dakota, and then home from there. Here's another one. We used to book our hotels ahead of time. I stopped doing it. 2 reasons. Number 1, when you pick the hotels off of Expedia or Travelocity, you never quite know what you're going to get. And a lot of times, the ones that are on there, they're on there for a reason. And they tend to be the ones off the beaten path. So what I ended up doing was I just tend to drive until I know I'm going to be tired in about an hour. And at that point, I say, okay, where's the next city? Let's try to get just beyond that city. And most major cities, you'll see the hotels are in bunches right off the interstate. So I would just watch, and I'd see an exit that would say 3 or 4 hotels, and I would go down and I'd have my pick. I would drive by the hotels and I'd say, okay, that looks like a nice, safe, secure parking lot. That's what I look for. I look for somewhere I can back in and, because I put my goods in the trunk or wherever. I want to have somewhere that's well lit. I want to have a place that people aren't hanging out in front of all the time, that looks well to do, that looks like it's fairly new and built. So that's what I do. The first night we booked it online and ended up getting this absolute dump in Fargo. It was almost scary to stay there. So yeah, beyond that, just make up your mind, know what your limit is, know when you're about an hour from when you want to stop, and then start looking for the exit that you want to get hotels on. It's okay to look ahead of time and say, okay, this is where I might be. But for me, I just started picking up the hotels as I went. Another thing is I found is that, here we go. Chris says, off the cuff can score some good deals. Pre-book, you pay their price. Yeah, so here's the other thing. A few years ago when we used to travel, we would be on, Chris says there's nothing nice in Fargo. Well, the water tower looks kind of cool, but other than that, you know. So years ago when we used to travel, we would book with Expedia ahead of time and we would get a deal, or at least we thought we did. But what I have found now is that the hotels have smartened up and they realize, hey, we're going to offer the same rate. So just for the hell of it, a couple times, I checked online to see what the rate was. And then I walked into the hotel and the price was the same. So I was happy. I never once went into a hotel, booked a hotel on the spot and thought, they really hosed me for that. Brian Young says, tip Toolman, route your trip through Bardstown, Kentucky, bourbon capital of the world next time. Absolutely. So this is not bourbon right at the moment. We have single malt Scotch whiskey, aged 12 years, but it is smooth. Oh yeah, that is good. All right. So here's another one. Shower in the morning before you hop in the car. I know a lot of people, me included, sometimes I'm like, man, I'm just in a hurry. I want to get going. I'm not going to do anything today. I'll shower when I get back. But you know what? For whatever reason, have a shower. It wakes you up, makes you feel human. I just enjoy the trip. I'm by myself. But yeah, I know that's a simple tip. And a lot of people are like, yeah, do it afterwards. But no, I'm good. Multiple phone chargers. I threw like 4 in my grab and go bag. But I had one that's permanently a car charger. So I plugged it into the outlet and I just left it there. I never took it into the hotel with me. And as a matter of fact, because I was driving so much and I picked up that's a whole nother story. I picked up a phone holder for it stuck into my air vent. I didn't like it too much, but it was great to have it up there. So on occasion you could type things and your GPS was right in front of you. I just kept it plugged in all day. I never plugged my phone in the hotel, even one night, because it was plugged in and charged in the car. It lasted through the night, and then I plugged it in the morning. That way I didn't have to forget a charger in the hotel because I'm bad for that. So we talked a while ago. Chris says, always buy one at the gas station. You always leave one in the hotel room. I find those gas station ones only last till you get about a half hour down the road and then you're hooped. But yes, also another tip. If you do show up at a hotel and you forgot your charger, go to the front desk and say, hey, I forgot my charger. There's a good chance they're going to pull out a tickle trunk under the front counter and they're going to have a metric shit ton of Android and Apple chargers, and they'll gladly give you one because they just keep them there. So if you've never done that, we have done that one time in Edmonton because we forgot our chargers. So collecting contacts. This was a good one. I kept a notepad this time of all the contacts I made. I put their name, their number, their subject matter expert, and where I met them all in there. So at the top, I put Prepper Camp and then boom, 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 all of my contacts. Then I put Tactical Response, boom, 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 all the contacts I made there. And then Self-Reliance Festival. And it was great. What isn't exactly a metric shit ton? Well, it's a little bit bigger than a tad, but not quite as much as, holy shit, that's a lot. But anyway, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, metric shit ton, I think it's 2,000 kilograms. I'm going to go a little less or more. 1,000 kilograms. There you go. Yeah, so I always expect to do laundry on the road, especially if you're on the road for 18 days, because I hate hauling a whole bunch of dirty laundry around with me. So what I do, no, this wasn't my idea. This was my wife's idea. She put a bunch of dryer sheets in a Ziploc bag, and she put a bunch of laundry soap in an empty water bottle and put that in a Ziploc bag. And it was hugely helpful because few things, when you stop at hotels, they charge an arm and a leg for the smallest little things. And it tends to be a different brand or a different scent or whatever, and it can bug you in certain ways. So I brought my own laundry soap, my own dryer sheets. Just make sure you have change because it was like $2.50 in quarters, which was annoying. Chris says you can add them in contacts in your iPhone and have a folder named Prepper or whatever. That's great. Yeah, I like that. And Rachel says, did you bring cool stuff back from Harbor Freight? Yes, Yes, I did. There will be a video showing all of it, but I picked up a bunch of Bauer cordless stuff, a couple of batteries, and of course, a Predator generator, the 3,500 watt inverter generator. And thank you. You know who you were out there who gladly sent me a no exclusions 25% off coupon, which allowed me to save $250 on my generator. It's friggin' awesome. So thank you. Okay, beyond that, I hate tenting. Did I mention I really don't like tenting? But it's, yeah, bring your own pillows, like I said. But I did order on Amazon. I looked up a folding cot for a big mother. No, I'm just kidding. A folding cot made for big guys. And this thing was good for 450 pounds and 84 inches long. And I was actually able to sleep on it very, very well. I enjoyed it as far as I could. Chris Dixon says, how do you feel about tenting? I hate it. Did I mention I really don't like tenting? I don't. And part of that could be because, you know, Becky and I have stayed in hotels. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I just don't enjoy it. Simple as that. But the cot made it much, much more beneficial. And I do enjoy hanging out. If Brian says tenting, you're pitching a tent. I'm not sure if that's a joke or not, but I was tenting at prepper camp because that's really the only option. That was the only place I tented was the 3 nights there, but it was great. So no matter how hard you look in your hotel, there's a good chance you're going to leave something behind. I did twice. I left my pillows behind once, and I left my shampoo behind once. Not that I really need shampoo. Wasn't the biggest deal in the world, but yeah, it happens. No matter how hard I try, it happens. Cleaning out your vehicle at every gas stop. It really means just do it. So what I do is I had a little spot where I put, you know, my garbage kind of on the floor right there. And I would, every time I'd stop, it was 3 things. I would fill up the gas, I would wash the windows, and I would empty the garbage. It makes you feel more human, more civilized, and it just helps you enjoy the trip a bit. And then, of course, I will go empty the bladder or whatever. What's tenting? Rachel Brown says, you mean camping in a tent? Sure. Us Canadians, we have all kinds of weird ways of saying things, don't we? Yeah, Brian says, yes, clean out the truck at stops. There's always a garbage can there. So just do it. It will absolutely make your life better. Maybe it's the old man in me, but Becky's got me well trained. I just feel better because you're not, you know, being swallowed up under a pile of junk. Just do it. It doesn't take long. Brian Young says, bring your own detergent. Definitely a good idea from someone sensitive to scents. Me too. I have a really hard time with scents. Yeah, they bother me, and skin irritation too. So for what it's worth, I mean, an empty 500 milliliter water bottle full of laundry soap was enough for me to do 3 loads, and then I still had a little bit left. Chuck Peoples, there is my brother, Chuck, from Self-Reliance Festival. Very handy guy who does a lot of first aid training and that sort of stuff. Chris says, put the gas fill on slow so you can actually get it done. No, it's way more fun to try to rush around and do it. It was too much fun. Yeah. And I took patience with me. I wish I could remember who told me when I flew at Christmas to bring patience with me. And I succeeded everywhere except at 6:30 in the morning. I went into Walmart looking for some Dr. Pepper cream soda, 0 sugar for Becky. I checked 12 different places, and I put my receipt in my wallet. And as I was leaving, this 85-year-old greeter, and I'm an asshole, said, I need to see your receipts. All I wanted to do was get on the road. I handed him my receipt, and there was 3 cases of Mountain Dew in there for Mackenzie, 2 double and 2 singles. And he tried to tell me that I had 4 cases in there and not 3. I didn't tell him to fuck off, but I came awfully close. But I just grabbed the receipt and walked out. So I lost my patience. It was the only time I lost my patience on the trip. So just so you know, Kentucky says he's horrible about cleaning out his truck. Sorry, I just laughed out loud. Brian says there's a problem with patience. There's your problem. You went to Walmart. Yep, it is. And Hunter says camping, paying to practice being homeless. Yeah, amen to that, brother. Pipin says the 21 podcast floored me at SRF. Nobody lasts. Oh yeah, that was crazy. That blew me away too. Absolutely. Poor Walmart greeter. I know I can be a bit of a dick sometimes, but that was my 2nd day on the road. No excuse. I actually felt guilty afterwards, but not guilty enough to call and apologize. Let's just put it that way. Rachel says she keeps laundry detergent and softener in her supply crate all the time because I forget the laundromat. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, man. Chicken Hawk says it can double as a pee bucket if need to as well. I'm not sure. I missed part of that. So if somebody wants to refill me in on that, I'm always looking at that. Ken wants to know what the 21 podcasts are. So what I did was when I was talking about content to creation, I mentioned that if you can make it to 21 podcasts, you're in the top 1% of all time for podcast creators. 99% of podcasts fail by the 21st episode because people don't stick with it. So yeah, there you go. Brian Young, man, you're blowing up over in Telegram. Thank you. He says, 2 years ago, I decided to stop shopping places that raise my blood pressure or piss me off. Well, that would mean Canada Post would be out. Canadian Tire would be out. Those are the first two that I could just absolutely throttle somebody at. But that's another story for another day. Okay. It is hard to eat keto on the road, but it is doable. And I succeeded all the way down. And for my first 3 nights in the hotel in Tennessee, but then I failed a little while. And that's okay. I'm back on it. Well, I will be back on it. I wasn't on it today. I still failed, so I'm being honest. But I bought almonds and a shit ton of beef jerky, and I kept Diet Pop. You guys know that's my vice, and water in the car. And I did really, really well. So it is possible. It's hard, but if you're on the road and you get bored and you want a snack, make sure you get keto snacks there and don't worry about the rest of it. Also, I basically ate fast food while I was staying in Tennessee. So it gets old really quick. And it really doesn't take much longer than going to a nice restaurant. But my buddy Jersey, he was at Self-Reliance Festival and we took a pistol training together. He took me out the last night. He says, hey, do you want to go to the local restaurant? And I ended up having, we went and had a ribeye steak and I had, get this, my very first old fashioned. And now I'm hooked, as you guys might notice, as you've seen some of my pictures on the trip back. But it was awesome. I should have done it the whole time I was there. It would have been way easier to eat keto instead of eating Sonic and burritos or something like that. So Chris says, afford yourself some grace, brother. Oh, I absolutely do. I'm just sharing as we go along because I'm going to get back on the wagon again. It all is what it is. Rachel says, what about Wingtober? I give up on Wingtober before it happened. I realized I was too stressed out and had too many things on the go to even worry about it this year. So I will do it next year. But it's great. Metric shit ton of jerky, Brian Young says. Yeah, I already said about having your pillows. Here's another thing. If you're worried about getting into your vehicle, about people getting into your vehicle, back in to your parking spot at the hotel. If you're not comfortable backing into parking spots, practice it. Do it all the time. It will become second nature for a couple of reasons. It was something that became second nature in the oil patch. But it's really good for quick egress. If you ever need to leave in a hurry, always make sure you're backed in. But the other thing is, if you back all the way in, it makes it way harder for somebody to get into your tailgate if you have a tonneau cover down. It also typically, if you back in right up against the hotel, it keeps you in the well-lit area. I try to find a spot that is close to the entrances, and a lot of times they'll have a tight spot there that you can back into with the Ram. But anyway, learn to back in the best you can. And yeah, do it. Yes, Chris says always back in. That should be a survival tip. Always back in so you're ready to head out first, because you're way less likely to run somebody over too if you backed in first. Although you could run them over back. Timmy says, back it up, Liberty says over on Telegram. All right, now here's another one. Now, if you are worried about going through major cities on the interstate, I get it. I understand. I love it. The thicker the traffic, the more I enjoy it. But if you are worried about it, if you have to go cross country, 2 tips for you. Number 1, don't do it at busy times. So take a little bit more time to plan your day. So set it up so that you go through the cities, before 7 in the morning or middle of the afternoon before rush hour or late in the evening. Doesn't always work. I went through Nashville at like 7 o'clock in the evening and it was still busy. So first off, that's your first tip. If you need to go through a big city, do that. Number 2, most of you know this, but somebody out there doesn't, and you need to hear this. But almost all major cities have ring roads around them. But GPS, if you put it into Google Maps or whatever, always defaults to the main interstate straight through the city. And almost all those interstates went through the city and the city built up around it, just how it worked. But over time, they've built those ring roads around the city. It might add 10 minutes to your trip. But if you are worried about getting downtown in cities and congested, even on the interstate, take the ring roads. They're all there. They usually are like three numbers. So like 29 was north-south. Chris Dixon says, except for Salt Lake City, that city goes on forever. Yes, it does. But Edmonton, Calgary, they both have ring roads, but most of them do. And they tend to be 3 numbers. So it'll be like 329 or whatever, and they'll encompass the entire city. So take them, give yourself a wide berth, and take your time. But don't get stressed out. It's not bad. Brian Young says Nashville is almost always slammed. Yes. And Brian Young says it's easier to back in than back out for longer vehicles. Absolutely. And if you have a trailer on, it's way easier to back up a longer trailer, but that's a story for yet another day. Bring sunglasses with you and bring 2 pairs. You will thank me later because you'll either lose one, you'll break them, whatever. But if you only have 1 pair of sunglasses, you'll have no pairs of sunglasses. But if you have 2, 2 is 1. Just remember that. Now, this doesn't work for everything, but if you can time it right or do it right, try to travel to the west in the morning and to the east in the evening so that you're not driving into the sun or out. It's miserable. If you want to have a bad day, drive early in the morning into the sun. And if you're already tired, it's going to make your life a lot more miserable. Doesn't always work that way, but if you can do it, just remember, sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So try not to. Here's something I learned on my first day heading out the other day. Oh boy, take screenshots of your GPS directions because as I get into it a little bit later, I had a ton of trouble dealing with my Canadian cell phone in the U.S. No matter how many promises Bell made to me, they still frigged it up. So as soon as you set your route for the day, screenshot it so you have it because I was 2 hours into my morning. The sun had just come up and I lost all data. And I thought, oh, it's going slow, so I'll reset my phone. And when I did, I had no access to my GPS anymore. So I'm now considering getting a standalone GPS unit as well. Chris says get a burner. I'm thinking about that as well. However, I'm going to talk a little more about this because I found out a couple of things that are on offer that you need to bug your telecom company for if you're Canadian. Anyway, standalone GPS unit, definitely take screenshots of your GPS directions. If I'd have done that, I wouldn't have been fretting. I had to wake Becky up at 6:30 because for some reason I could send text messages only, but nothing else. Yozik says download offline maps, also a great idea. Just, know where you're going, pay attention to where you're going, and, don't be slack on that because it got me in trouble. I had to pull over. I lost basically an hour because I wasn't sure where I should be heading. Finally got my data up and running. So remember that. That was probably my biggest fail of the entire trip for sure. Yozik says it's built into Google Maps. Chicken Hawk says Harbor Freight, $1.50-ish for sunglasses. Here's another old man frugal tip. But your wife ever get tired of you for having holes in your socks? And she's like, throw them out. Well, first thing I do is I grab the one with the big hole and I tear it in half. So I throw it out or use it for a rag. But if you have that mismatched sock that needs to go in the garbage as well, slide your sunglasses in it and then just throw them in a glove box somewhere. It'll keep the lenses from getting completely scratched up because you don't want to end up spending $20 on a pair of sunglass holder or a sunglass case for $1.50 Harbor Freight sunglasses. So just use an old pair of socks. Just make sure you wash them first. Mark says, great videos from the road. Great motivation. Thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. Also, Chicken Hawk says, and carry maps like a good prepper. So guess what I did the next day? I went on and ordered a spiral bound U.S. Canada Atlas, which will be coming and will be going in my truck because screenshots aren't enough. A standalone GPS unit won't be enough. I made that mistake and now I have one coming. Chuck says, I have a standalone GPS as a backup in my vehicle, even with in-vehicle navigation and phone. That's a good idea. If anybody has a recommendation for an Amazon one that they actually like, let me know. Chris says, tell us we'll get you past Cheyenne, Wyoming, and then you're on your own. Yeah, it sucks. So let's go on. If you're a content creator, do yourself a favor and create all your content before you hit the road. Because what it does is it frees you up to actually be creative on the road if you want to. Because when you are tired and wore out and been on the road and you might not feel like making content, well, you don't have to, because all my videos were already up and ready to go. But when the moment hit me, I was like, hey, yeah, I can do it. And I made less content on the road this time than I did from LFTN. Part of the reason was I didn't have a lot of evenings to do live streams. But yeah, if you're a content creator, do it ahead of time, have it put there, have it scheduled, and it will take all the stress off you. And then if you want to, great. Next, bring a garbage bag or 3. They're worth it. For me, one was to put a little garbage in if I had garbage to deal with, but mainly it was for dirty laundry. So it's definitely worth having. Just throw 2 or 3 garbage bags in your suitcase. You'll find uses for them, because them stupid little shitty laundry bags that have the pull-off tie. If anybody can tell me why every plastic laundry bag in a hotel room has that stupid little 2-inch pull-off strip that when I put my laundry in and I go to grab the bag, it tears off, I would love to know, because I have no idea why it's that way. We got 15 comments over here on Telegram. Yes. All right. So Brian Young says, oh my God, I drove west to Self-Reliance on Friday and I was miserable. I ended up wondering if anyone was even in my lane. Yeah, it is horrible. Okay. Yozik wants to know what language my Atlas came in, whether it was English or Canadian. It was God's language, the Queen's English, thank you. I was sitting on a Chesterfield when I ordered it, and I was thinking about cleaning my eaves troughs, just in case you're wondering. Liberty Meat says the generic $5 polarized sunglasses in the fishing section are nice for the price. I buy 3 or 4 at a time. Crossfire safety sunglasses on Amazon are great too. I order them all the time. Flying Bullet wants to know how much the Atlas cost in Freedom dollars. Let's see, it was about $40 Canadian, so that'd be about $1.350 in Freedom dollars, I believe. So we'll leave it at that. So here's the thing: 2 quick tips if you are Canadian. Number 1, if you're Canadian, fight with your telecom company, because they will bend you over, and you know what they'll do to you. Horrible. So before I left, we called Bell and I said, I need data for the US. They said, sure, we'll sell it to you at $60 per 2 gigs. And I'm like, well, are there other options? They're like, nope, that's it. That's all you get. Huh. Okay. So for the first week I was there, every 2 gigs, they would turn my data off. I would have to text them, or Becky would have to call them, because I would have no data. And they'd be like, hey, we'll take another $60. Here's 2 gigs for you. So then Becky calls up and she hollers at them and she's like, this is stupid. It's costing us an arm and a leg. What can you do? They're like, oh, well, we have a international roaming plan that is $12.50 a day, and you will have unlimited data. Actually, you get 1 gig, and then they tether your data down to like 500K or whatever after that. Better. So at this point, I was spending $12.50 a day instead of $30 to $60 a day. However, finally, on my way home, 3 days left, my data runs out. Something happens. I'm supposed to have unlimited data. Turns out that you're not supposed to put it on automatic roaming when you have a Canadian phone. You're supposed to go in manually and select different towers in case you're having trouble. They tell me this like I should know this, and I never knew it. But I get a nice lady on the phone. I'm like, listen, I am getting bent over backwards for telecom rates. What can you do? She's like, oh, well, why don't you just have a Canadian US roaming plan? And I'm like, well, that's what I asked for. But first they charge me $60 every 2 days, and they charge me $12.50 a day. She's like, yeah. She said it's so my plan was $85 a month right now. She said your plan is $105, but I'll give you a $10 discount. And anyway, so it ended up being $10 more a month. And now I have unlimited data in Canada and the US all the time. And they're going to go in and remove most of those previous charges. Why couldn't they just tell me that to begin with? So fight, don't take no for an answer, and just keep fighting, because those telecom companies, as Chris says, they don't use any lube, guys, not even a little bit. They'll bend you over, and you know what? Thanks, Carrie. Carrie says, I meant to tell you, but congrats on the weight loss. Thank you, sir. And I will keep on going. Liberty says, you could have spent $50 on a cheap SIM card from a gas station while in the US. Yes. The only thing I wasn't sure about, and I probably should have looked into it ahead of time, was my phone number is where all my work calls and texts come in. So I really didn't want to fuck that up. Plus, another tip, don't switch to a brand new phone just before you go on an 18-day road trip. I was fighting with it the entire time because I found notepads and contacts and images that I needed on my phone that wasn't, but I did bring my old phone with me, so that helped. Number 2, it was way cheaper. As a Canadian, it was way cheaper to bring stuff back across the border than I expected. I'll do a little math for you in case I won't go too deep into this, but for my fellow Canadians out there, I always kept it right to the limit because I didn't want to spend over because I thought I was going to get bent over again by the Canadian government. And I did a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So overall, I brought back $2,600 worth of goods. Stuff for me, stuff for Becky, that kind of stuff. It was all personal material. You get an $800 allowance that is tax and duty free. So that brought me down to $1,800. Now, everything I bought was household decor, food, and tools. All of those were exempt from duty. The only thing I paid was 5% GST. So I ended up paying $90 on $1,800 worth of stuff coming across the border, which was great. So if you're wondering, it won't work that way for everybody, but if you check ahead of time, because things are way cheaper in the U.S., it's definitely worth buying down there and bringing it back. I never thought it was. There you go. Okay. And Liberty, Josh says some phones are dual SIM. You can set on to data only. A dual SIM may be worthwhile if you travel a lot. Yes, I may just do that, guys. It might be worth it. Now, here's another one. There's a few tips for nighttime or early morning driving. Now, some of you may know these, but these are things I learned over time. The first one, of course, this is the simple one everybody knows, but you know your rear view mirror. You do know there's a switch on there, like a little paddle switch you can flip to put it into night mode, which basically kind of reflects it off the roof, and it helps cut down the glare of the, like the car driving directly behind you with his asshole lights on, right? That one everybody knows. Here's 2 more that most people don't think about. The one I learned in the oil patch was dim your interior lights. Your eyes will thank you for sure. Put your phone on nighttime mode, but there's usually a little rolling thing there. Turn your lights as low as they possibly will go. It allows your eyes to hold their night vision way better, and you'll deal with way less strain on your eyes. But don't forget to turn them back up when the sun comes up. Now, number 3, this is my favorite one. Now, you've got your rear view mirror fixed. You've got your interior light fixed. Now, I do find that the passenger side mirror doesn't tend to glare too much because it tends to show things way back. But the other one that catches me a lot is my driver's side rear view mirror, my driver's side mirror there. So if it's in the morning or at night and it's dark out, what you do is instead of having it where you can exactly see it, just remember you did this though, adjust it slightly to the outside so that what you're doing is you can still see the outward line, but you aren't seeing the vehicle. So what you're doing, you're driving along, and if you need to see in your mirror, you look over just a little bit, just adjust it until those lights disappear. Again, your night vision will thank you. Like Billy Bond says, learn to see at night without lights. Yeah, not a bad idea, but the more lights you have on, the harder it is to see at night. So try to keep everything as dim and as low as you possibly can. Chris says, don't fret about the stuff you're bringing across. If it isn't a sin product like booze, tobacco, etc., a lot of duty exempt unless you say you're a business. Yeah, and I was in a business truck, but I was honest. Everything was basically for me. So, and Chicken Hawk says, if you roll that switch all the way up, some cars have floorboard lights as well. Yes, good point. Use your ass time the best you can. Audiobooks, podcasts, record podcasts. That's what I did. Live stream on TikTok. I even did that once. I caught shit from somebody. They're like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this. And then he's like, hey, you're a good storyteller. Whatever. And then do yourself a favor. At least for me, take an hour every day and brainstorm. If you got 10 hours on the road, you're not going to miss an hour, but I got way more done. Now for me, I need to brainstorm early. So when I first get on the road, start and go. Hey, we got Aaron and Nate. Good to have you guys. But for me, yeah, that first hour is my golden hour. I brainstorm, just do it. Well, if you want to anyway. And this one pertains to Nate and Aaron, but unless you build it in your schedule, you're not going to stop and see people randomly. And I felt bad for that because I didn't get to see Nate and Aaron, but I realized it was way off my beaten path coming back. So if you're going to stop and visit people, make sure you allow enough time. I'm really bad for that. But yeah, this is just one of those things to remember. Events like this. So I was outdoors at Prepper Camp. I was outdoors at Self-Reliance Festival. I was outdoors at Tactical Response. And I'm a guy who is outdoors almost all the time without a hat and without sunscreen. But sunscreen, a hat, sunglasses, and good footwear are all essential for events like this. At Prepper Camp, the first day I spoke, and do not forget to stay hydrated, my friends. I will tell you. At Prepper Camp, I was not drinking enough, and I got on stage, and I felt a little bit, oh boy, I better be careful. So just make sure you stay hydrated, because if not, your body will tell you. It will, for sure. I need to get a Canadian U.S. Atlas, definitely. Chicken Hawk says Crocs. Okay, confession time, guys. I drive in my sock feet. Probably not ideal. I'm sure I could probably get a ticket for it, but when I'm 10 or 15 hours on the road, I sure as shit are not wearing shoes all day long. Yeah, I know. Somebody will say something there, but that's how I do it. Crocs would be good too. Also, yes, don't forget to take a pair of sandals with you. Or something for slipping on and off in the hotel, because yeah, it just makes life a little more comfortable. So here's a cool story. I had a gentleman, and you know who you are, come up to me at Self-Reliance Festival, and he's like, hey, guess what? I graduated from the Mike Rowe Scholarship Program, and I took it upon myself to send your name to him saying you should be interviewed by him. They turned him down, but he said he's not giving up. So I just appreciate it. That is the power of community. And even though it didn't happen yet, it's going to happen. And you guys know that Mike Rowe will be on the workshop at some point. I also realized, Chris says moccasins, get in touch with your native roots. Yeah, I sure. You know, I think my native roots might be a little more colonial than others, but we'll leave it at that. I need to do another series on entrepreneurship. Beyond anything else, the most people come up to me over those 2 weekends, and especially at Self-Reliance Festival, saying, thank you, Tim. You inspired me to start a business. So I need to do another series on entrepreneurship. We will do it. I came home, had a bunch of hotel locks waiting for me. If you guys saw that one video where I bent the piece of shit in half, well, the biggest request on TikTok was, can you do more of these locks? So I got 3 more locks coming that we're going to test out on my trip to Dallas. 2 trips to Harbor Freight. It was incredible. I love Harbor Freight. I would go there all the time. Flying Bullet says, I never understood why they would ticket for that. I don't know. If you get a cop that had a bad day, he'll ticket you for a lot of stuff, right? Next, thanks to my buddy Phil from Matter of Facts podcast. If you don't listen to him, you should. Him and Andrew have a great show over on the Prepper Broadcast Network, but we did a live roundtable recording at Prepper Camp. And he showed me all his gear. He showed me his junk. And so I ordered some, and I can't wait. So I'm going to have an incredible kind of on location recording setup for the next time around. I'm really excited because I'm really, really digging these on location interviews, guys. I love it. And I'm going to do a lot more of them. I didn't do enough this time, but I'm realizing the benefit of them. And when you have access to people, you sit people down for a half-hour in-person interview, and it is powerful. So definitely going to do that again. Tactical response. I know everybody's been like, hey, how was your pew-pew training? And I am going to talk about it, but I just don't think I fully processed it yet. Everybody asked me at Self-Reliance, how was your training at Tactical Response? And what I can tell you is it was a little bit life-changing. It's something I've never done before. What do they do? They want to instill in you the warrior mindset, and they do. You go there thinking you're going to learn how to shoot guns, and you leave realizing they taught you how to fight and how to survive a fight. It was incredible. I'm going back for more. I loved it. That's all there will be for now. I'm going to talk about it more down the road. And Kayla, that's James' daughter. She's one of the co-owners of the business now. She's going to come on and do a live stream with me. So we will touch into that a lot more. But I don't know. It just was such an experience. I'm not fully ready or willing to share it all yet, but it was great. I loved it. Let's leave it at that. So like I said, I did not take many pictures on the road because I made the choice of wanting to experience the trip this time. And remember, for whatever reason, I wanted them to be in, internal memories that I just held with me. So what stuck out? What were some of the cool things I saw on my trip, and what were some of the best memories? And we're going to shout out to Studio 8424 right at the moment. He has us live on Float Radio. Thank you, Studio 8424. Always appreciate the support over there. And I also, before I forget, I need to shout out to Jester from It's Doomsday Podcast. He had the coolest fucking setup I have ever seen. He live podcasted. He had a live podcast studio at Prepper Camp. I got to meet him. I got to go on his show, and we're going to do some back and forth interviews down the road, but he's just a cool dude. And his biggest present is on TikTok. So if you're looking, check him out. So fave memories of the trip. Chris says that's good. Something new like that needs time to either wear off, and then you can process it for sure. Yes, absolutely. So the very first morning I got up and headed out on the road, 3:45. I was heading east towards Saskatchewan, and it didn't rain, but I had the most beautiful lightning storm, chain lightning. I saw like 3 just beautiful, massive lightning chains all come down at one time. It was just an experience. It was something that, if I hadn't got up at 3:45 and was on the road and, halfway to Saskatoon by 4:30 in the morning, I would have missed it. But it was totally worth it. I loved that experience. Crossing the Mississippi River multiple times. I had crossed it before, but it was always where it petered out to something really tiny. Where I crossed it, I want to say it was in Kentucky. Somebody can absolutely correct me if I'm wrong, but when I crossed it, it was so wide, it almost felt like you were at the mouth of an ocean. I really enjoyed that quite a bit. Studio says, say hi to Chris Fix for me. Great channel, and welcome to float.app, he said. From there, the St. Louis Arch. So I drove past St. Louis during the daytime going back. Wow, all I can say is I need to go and see that, because on TV, it doesn't do it justice. In person, when you drive by it, that thing is friggin' huge. It's just a giant arch, but it was incredible. Loved it. Kansas City was a way prettier, more gorgeous city than I expected. I loved their ballpark. It was really good. Yeah, so if you've never driven by Kansas City, there was a gorgeous white cable bridge I drove through. I really, really enjoyed it. So Brian Young says, I think the big river crossing from Illinois to Kentucky is Ohio River. I think you might be right. You do know this, but yeah, I did cross. I'm sure I crossed the Mississippi on multiple occasions because I remember seeing the sign. And Nate says, the arch is awesome to go up into. I need to do that. And I said, it's 3 miles wide. If that's it, that is insane. I had no idea. In Kansas City, yeah, their ballpark is gorgeous. You could see it by the highway. When I went through Kansas City, I said, I need to come back here because it's just a really nice looking thing to see. Oh yeah. Okay. Brian says, I crossed the Mississippi in St. Louis. Thank you, my friend. My American geography is, kind of like my Canadian geography, hit and miss. The Smoky Mountains. I know I mentioned it before, but they are so incredible. I loved them. The trees just kind of, I don't know, it looks like something out of a Stephen King movie. That's all I can say. The mountains and the trees just hug the road, and you can tell they're like, hey, we got to put a road through here, so let's follow the snake trail. And it was back and forth and back and forth, and it was, so that was cool. I came through it heading to North Carolina during the day, and coming back, this was the experience. So the only time I was on a very, very short schedule was when I left Prepper Camp. So number one, I was the last speaker, and it was, he's talking about the river, Nate was. I was the last speaker at Prepper Camp, which meant I couldn't leave till 6 o'clock. And the last person out needed to fold up the chairs. So we had to do that too. And then I had to drive so it was a 7-hour drive from Saluda, North Carolina to Camden, Tennessee, which would have put me there at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be to tactical response for 7:30. So I booked myself a hotel about an hour and a half out of Camden. And I said, I'll drive as fast as I can and get there. Spend the night. I got about 5 hours sleep, got up, drove the extra hour and a half, and got to Camden, which was cool. Now, leaving Prepper Camp, got to shout out to my brother Joel from Fortress K9. He came over and he says, get the hell out of here, get on the road. And he folded all the chairs up for me, so I appreciate it. And him and his wife let me hang out under their awning at their RV multiple times when I was just wore out. And I was like, okay, I just need 10 minutes to not talk to anybody. And they just let me park my chair, and I hung out with them. But as I was coming out of Saluda, going through the mountains, I got hit by the nastiest, craziest thunderstorm I had ever seen in my life. It lasted all of 5 minutes, and you could see it brewing up over the mountains. And as I came through, I got hit by a wall of water blowing sideways. Branches were coming down. Everybody come to a complete stop on the interstate. And I was like, oh, this really sucks, because it was just coming on dark. It wasn't full dark yet, but it was getting there. Pull over, and I said, well, I need to start putting ahead. I need to figure this out. And I look ahead, and the exit that's right there is just a public rest stop. So I pull in and I stop. And within 5 minutes, it started brightening up. And within half an hour, I was on dry roads again. But that was just, I've driven in some shitty weather. I've never once had to come to a complete stop on the highway for rain. I've come close for hail, and I've definitely done it for snow. And if you do that, leave your four ways on, stay in your car with your hands on your wheel and your seatbelt on, and pull over as far as you can, because it sucks. But yeah, anyway, just be careful. I was lucky. I pulled over in a good spot. Everybody else did. And then just keep making headway. But always, if you're, without a doubt, don't be scared to put your four ways on. It will never hurt you. Another great experience, which was so cool, was interviewing 5 Times August. Brad Skitmus is his name, but you will better know him as 5 Times August. And if you don't know that name, you'll know his production. He is the one who did the videos making fun of Anthony Fauci, making fun of Justin Trudeau. And they were basically those like cut and paste kind of done in the Monty Python South Park style. What a cool interview. If you haven't listened to it, do it. But number one, thanks to Rick Austin for setting the interview up for me, or at least making the contact. And then number 2, thanks to Brad. We sat down, we did the entire interview. It was awesome. And then I checked my interview and there was no sound on it. And Brad was nice enough to come back a half hour later and do the interview again. And it was awesome. It was great. I know I've said awesome. Shut up, Tim. You said it too many times. That was just an honor. Now, the next big honor was I, for whatever reason, was asked to be part of a roundtable discussion at Self-Reliance Festival on stage. And you know who I was on stage with? Billy Bond, John Willis, and Jack Spirko. That was an honor that you would not believe. And then for Jack to come up to me after my presentation, and he told me he was proud of me for the stuff I did. Wow. That sticks with you guys. That was friggin' incredible. Something else, and I need to share this with you just because it was humbling. But after I finished my presentation at Self-Reliance Festival, I finished at about 10:30, I want to say. For the next 3 hours, there was people waiting to chat with me and share with me the stories of things they'd done, because for whatever reason, something I shared with them clicked and they got shit done and did crazy things in their life. It was humbling, guys. It blew me away. Still brings me just a little bit to tears. It got to the point where I talked, and I go there so that people can have time and spend as much time as they need to with me, and I enjoyed it. But about 2 hours in, I was losing my voice. My throat was dry. And my buddy Porterhouse, if you guys don't know him, check him out. He come by and I'm like, can you give me some water? And he ran over and got me a bottle of water. I know he knows it meant something to me, but he does not know how much that stupid little bottle of water meant to me, guys. I was just blown away. I know I had 2 to 3 dozen people come up to me and say, I started a business, or I'm starting content creation because of what you said, Tim. Yeah, I don't even know how to. I just needed to share that, guys, because it was so fucking incredible. Chuck says Porterhouse is the man. Yeah, Porterhouse is just a great guy. Wow, he was cool. I never knew the guy before we met, and we're like, yeah, we had tons of in-depth, great conversations. Kentucky says Porterhouse is an awesome guy as well. He is just salt of the earth kind of guy. Being around your people, there is nothing better out there. I'm just telling you. If you've never gone to an in-person event like that and you're like, hey, I have all these online imaginary internet friends, like Becky said to me, we always used to joke, do yourself a favor and get around it. You can't leave and not be motivated, my friends. You can't leave and not be fired up. You can't leave and not say, holy shit, I'm not crazy. Here I am. So do it. Get out there, do it, whatever it is. That's why I want to bring one of these events to our area, because if nothing else, it's worth taking the time to do it. Brian Young, This is good enough. I don't know if I can copy and paste it. Yeah, maybe I can copy and text. He says, finding your tribe is important. When we left LFTN Spring Workshop, Becky looked at me and she said, I finally found my people. And for her to say that is incredible. And I knew it. I felt it in my soul. And when you're around people like that, boy, it is powerful. Yeah. So other experiences that I love, trying an old fashioned for the first time and the second time and the third time and the fourth time. Wow, they're really good. That's all I can say. Let's move on to that. Tactical training at Tactical Response. I've already beat that drum, but it was incredible. Meeting my fellow content creators from Prepper Broadcast Network for the first time. James and Ryan, it was just like brothers that we've known each other, and it was great. Ryan's going to be on the show this weekend again. But yeah, those guys are just all around really, really cool. Brian Young says old fashions don't have brandy. No, they don't, but they sure can have bourbon in them. The tobacco fields in Kentucky were, I don't know. I was like, what are those? I said, it kind of looks like big lettuce or overgrown potatoes. And then I looked it up online. I'm like, oh, that's tobacco. First time I've ever seen tobacco fields. They looked really cool. The idea of not taking any pictures while I was driving and just committing things to memory this time was powerful for me. I had to share that. Flying Bullet says, listening to you, Jack and Nicole, has really inspired me. Thank you. What more can I say? Yeah, it blows me away, guys. This was something else, just stuck with me, and I loved it. You guys ever go to the beach and see sea glass? I know it's harder and harder to find because less and less is made out of glass. I always enjoy that kind of multicolored thing. Well, at Tactical Response, at their range, they have a shotgun bay. And the ground is literally covered in hundreds of thousands of shotgun shells. And it looks like beach glass, all the colors of the rainbow. And it was one of the coolest things I have ever seen. Something else, a theme of these 2 weeks was liquor. And not like getting drunk liquor, but enjoying a bunch of different types of drinks. So I want to share with you a few things that I tried for the first time and really enjoyed. Of course, first was an old fashioned. I already said that. But apple pie moonshine is the nectar of the gods. Wow. So there were some guys next to me that were running a smoker at Prepper Camp. And a couple different times I said, hey, Tim, you ever try this? And they come over and they give me, and I'd never had it before, but apple pie moonshine. Oh, so good. I tried something called cactus juice. Some kind of weird ass liqueur that's supposed to taste a bit like a margarita. It tastes like cactus juice. Enough said. I didn't win the prize at Prepper Camp for being from the furthest away because a lady from Australia showed up, but she came bearing gifts and she had a bottle of Australian rum and it was good. And Saturday night at Self-Reliance Festival, when we had the full spread of the meal, it was great. We sat around and chatted, had a good time. There was a gentleman there sitting at the table with me that had an homemade Italian liqueur called No Chino. It's made with walnut and cloves and cinnamon, and it tasted like Christmas. It was so good. And now, a 30-year-old rum. It tasted like butterscotch. I don't know how to explain it, but it was so good. That was the greatest night. I just really enjoyed that dinner. It would have been really nice to have access to taxis or some sort of shuttle service that would take you back to town because I was driving. So obviously I wasn't going to get inebriated because that's stupid and dumb. And why would you do that in your old, anyway, and it was what it was. But yeah, so I had a couple of drinks and then waited a few hours and drove back to the hotel. But it would have been nice. That was the only thing. But yeah, so I got to try all kinds of cool things. Now, Nate was saying, was there lemonade moonshine? There was not, but I need to try that as well. Yeah, definitely. And he says, now you're getting AP fuel. AP fuel. You might have to fill me in on that. But yeah, because Chris has some really good peach stuff. And anyway. And finally, coming back on my second to last day, if you guys are listening to the Permaculture Pimpcast with Billy Bond and William Bond, it's really good. I could listen to Billy all day. And it turns out that he is a former talk radio host from, I think he said Kansas City. So he has the ability to sit and talk and spin a yarn and tell a story and paint a picture with his words. But there was a cool tip that just stuck with me, and it was his tip of the day. And some of you guys may have heard this before, but I said I have to share it, but I want to make sure Billy gets the credit. Now, I buy shoes. I wear shoes out. But you know what wears out before my shoes do? Goddamn shoelaces, because I pull them super tight. Billy said, and he's used this tip for years, but replace your shoelaces with 550 paracord. If that's not a killer tip, I don't know what is. I don't know why I never thought about it, but I ordered myself a 300-foot roll of olive drab paracord. I've wanted paracord for a while anyway. So yeah, I'm not going to need 300 feet for my shoelaces. That'll last me the rest of my life. But it was cheap basically as a 250-foot roll. But I love that tip. If you guys have never heard that before, I'm doing it. I'm going to replace them right away, because them friggin' shoelaces that come with a brand new pair of shoes, I wear them out like there's no tomorrow. Chuck says, always 550 cord. Is it not crazy how some people know things and they just assume that everybody knows it? And then when they share it, like something simple, like turning down your interior dome light or your interior lights in your vehicle when driving at night. And I've done it for years. Other people don't know about it until they hear such a simple little tip. So I'm doing it. I've got my 550 cord with me, and it is great. Now, let's see what we got over here on Telegram. Yozik says, Google says it exists. Also says a man can have a baby, so take for what it's worth. Oh, talking about brandy in an old-fashioned, guys. Brian Young says, get a roll of mule tape, not for laces, but dude, I will. I'm not sure what I need mule tape for yet, but if anybody wants to let me know. Great. So 550. If 550 is this right here, I got to show you. This is what I'm sure this is 550 cord that Patrick sends with his knives. And if it is, just a quick burn on the end is great. You can actually pull the inside out, trim it off a little bit, and then tie it in a knot and melt it. And it is, yeah, I'm trying to get this out of here for you guys. There you go. So that's what it looks like. That one's a little bit tight. It doesn't have to be. Sorry, I hit the mic, but it melts really good with a lighter. So if that's the case, I don't know. We'll see. But yeah. And then he also talked about a different type of tape. I want to say it was called fire cord or something. And it's like paracord, but it has tinder on the inside, and it also has snare wire on the inside. I'm not sure how you would use that per se, but yeah. And Nate says we hang deer with mule tape. Well, I'm going to have to get me a roll of mule tape. Also, congratulations to Nate, who got, I believe it was a 14-point buck on the opening day of archery season. Holy shit, man. I don't think I've ever shot. No, I haven't shot a 14-point even with a rifle. So opening day of archery season, way to go, man. That's exciting. And Brian says, I use mule tape for antenna suspension, different strength, super strong tape made for pulling wire through conduit. All right. I can handle that. I'm a sucker for adhesives. I'm a sucker for tape. So if you recommend to me something that sounds like it's even better than most of the Gorilla products I use, I'm all over it, guys. Chuck says, Nate got a monster. Yeah, he did, buddy. Nate, you need to pat yourself on the back, because you fed your family, and just for the hell of it, you get yourself a cool little trophy too. I'm proud of you, man. I don't make time to hunt like that anymore, but Valerie. Oh, hi, Valerie. How are you? Just going to have another swig there. Use a plastic straw on the ends of 550 cord to close end and allow for sewing through things. Oh, yeah. So take a piece of straw, melt it on the end, and there you go. You've got your shoelace end. That might work. Also, speaking of plastic straws, the absolute worst thing about coming back to Canada is paper straws. And in case you didn't know, A&W McDonald's now has wooden forks and spoons, and they're just as miserable as one might think. So I miss the plastic straws. They were all over the place down there. And yeah, Nate says should have a mount back around Christmas. Speaking of mounts, I actually had an idea. There's a really top-notch taxidermist here in my area. And I thought I may, if there's interest, have somebody come and do a talk, or maybe the breakdown the basics of taxidermy at the workshop when we have it next summer. We'll see. I don't know, just an idea. But if there's, if you're out there listening and you're in Western Canada, or, Southern Alberta, as in like North Dakota, whatever, if you want to come up here and you have some ideas, absolutely. Let me know. People and place. So I went, here's the cool thing. at Self-Reliance Festival, Nicole did a thing where she said, hey, where are you from? And somebody put their hand up, and then she said, hey, is there anyone else here from that area? Of course, I put my hand up for Alberta, and everybody laughed, and it was a fun time. But so I said, I was talking to somebody, and I can't remember who it was. And if you guys remember, if you're out there, let me know. But I was chatting with somebody, and they're like, oh, there's an incredible permaculture channel and teacher in Alberta. So I looked them up. Can't think of their name right now, but they had like 70,000 subscribers on YouTube. They've been doing it for 10 years. And apparently they're the real deal. So I'm going to reach out to them as well. And also, I almost forgot, as we were going along here, 2 announcements that I did not mention, but I gave away a free year membership to the Patch of the Month Club at both Prepper Camp and at Self-Reliance Festival. Now, here's the thing. At Prepper Camp, it was at the big, it was like 500-600 people at the Saturday evening event. Somebody won it. I never made time to find that person while I was at camp. They haven't reached out to me yet. So if you were at Prepper Camp and you saw who won, let me know. Or if you are the person who won, email me at therealtimcook@gmail.com, because I want to send you your free patches every single month. But they haven't reached out to me yet, so I'm not sure. Maybe they forgot, whatever, no big deal. But if you saw who won, let me know, or if you're that person. Now, number 2, here's the next thing. At Self-Reliance Festival, I also gave away 1 free year of that. And the lady's name was Kim Chesney, and she gave me her email address, and I double-checked it 3 times, and I still managed to write it down wrong. So when I tried to email her today, also, it bounced back at me. So if you guys know Kim, or if you saw her at Self-Reliance and you know a way to get a hold of her, could you reach out to her and let me know so I can send her that as well? And if I didn't mention it, I shipped out all of the silver today. So all the silver and all the patches have all been shipped out. Brian says, Chris says, was it Verge out of Calgary? Yes, it was. Didn't know they existed. Funny how that is, isn't it? Aaron says, my kids were just asking about how it works. We may get a hold of this guy and see if we can go check it out. Yeah, taxidermy is so cool. I mean, if you look back, some of the more famous people in the world were taxidermists. Like, do you guys remember Norman Bates? I mean, he was very, very famous, and he was a taxidermist. I mean, to the point where, for some reason, he was allowed to taxidermy his mother. But that's a whole other story for another day. Brian shared mule tape over on Telegram. So if you're interested, go by there and check that out. Well, guys, that was a mouthful this evening. What a great episode. Pat myself on the back. Oh, yeah, that was a good. No, I'm just kidding. But it was. If you guys have any other questions or anything else, I'm good to go for a little longer if you're interested. But yeah, it was good. Self-Reliance Festival was awesome. From what I understand, there was about 500 people there. They raised just under $2,000 for the Dark Horse Lodge. We did a really cool ticket giveaway. You bought tickets and had a chance to win. It was great. Nate says, can't wait to get the silver. Going to be awesome to have a set from you and Brian. Brian and I, yeah. So also the Lots Project. You guys know Brian, of course. He's been on the show twice now. But if you haven't, well, his are all sold out, but he's pre-ordered. I think he's like pre-booked 7 of his incoming 15 sets or something. But if you're interested, they're cool. Him and I both did a swap for a single ounce for a single ounce. So I have one of his really cool Lots pirate coins, which are really neat. What else have I learned recently? That I'm still not super effective with crypto in everyday bartering and transactions, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to, I'm going to expand on that a little bit. I had to reinstall. So I end up going out there, forgot to reinstall my Lightning wallet on my phone. So all week, every time people are like, hey, do you take this? Yeah, it is what it. Anyway, so I need to do it. Kentucky. If you're going to install it, great. If you want to sell it, I'll buy it from you. Actually, so if anybody knows, I shouldn't do this, but if anybody knows the EMP Shield people and you can get me in touch with them, I would love to get my hands on one and do a review/install video. It doesn't mean they have to give me one, but I would be totally cool if they wanted to, or at least, help me out with that, because I really, really, really want to check out the EMP Shield. I know Nate won one, and congratulations, Kentucky. I love seeing that people win that. Apartment Prepper, I meant every word I said about that. It was a really cool thing. So, and Nate won the EMP Shield in June as well. yeah, I'm just interested. I love that kind of stuff. And Brian says I might have a card, but don't know him personally. That's okay. I'm just throwing it out there. I've been super. Yeah, I don't even know how much they are, to be honest. I really should just shut up and buy one, but I've learned now that, sometimes it is what it is. So I also, interesting, random thought, but I reached out to, $299 to $399. Yes. And Brian Young says he's skeptical. I kind of am as well. And that's why I'd like to get my hands on one and try it out. It was just like I reached out to a company a while ago. They had what was called a generator, a generator muffler type system. And I'm not really sure if it is legit or not. So I said, well, anyway, we're going to try it. I reached out to them. They haven't got back to me yet. My freeze dryer has not showed up yet, Aaron. I need to look into that. I'm pretty excited about getting it, though. I really, really want it. Apartment Prepper says prepping by Faith has EMP shields on her vehicles and her house. And yes, I am definitely. Brian says as an EE, I'm a bit skeptical. Now I might just be one of those nights, but what is an EE, Brian? If you want to throw that out there, maybe I'm just being dumb tonight, but yeah, I'm a bit skeptical too, but I would love to try one out for sure. David says, hey, it was great meeting you. Come back and we'll do something about sorghum. Hey, David, right on. Yeah, we had a great chat at Tactical Response. I'm actually really excited. I have him in my phone. I have about 6 people I met at Tactical Response that were super interesting dudes. Jeremy runs a sawmill. He was at Self-Reliance as well. It was just awesome. I made some great connections and a bunch of guys that are going to come on the show. Ken says, what could it hurt? Great insurance if it doesn't. Talking about EMP shield. And LG says, I think you give really interesting reviews and interviews. I think they would really benefit by your review of their product. I'd love to. When I came back, I had a free package waiting for me, which was really cool. The guy that makes the 4-arm forklifts reached out to me and he said, hey, I'd like to send you some new products. I said, I would like to review some new products because I trust the product that I've used of his in the past. The first one looks like, do you guys remember crazy carpets? You know, those things you'd sit on, they were blue. Well, this one's white and it's about, 1/4 inch thick and it's flexible. And it's like a sled for appliances. So if you need to pull them through the house, you put it on that and you're able to pull things way easier with a whole lot less contact with the floor. And the other ones were something loops. I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically ratchet strap extenders. So if you're close, but you can't get them to strap together, you hook them and use it as an extender. Have a good night, Ken. I always appreciate you, man. Nate says the guarantee is what I'm skeptical about. It's guaranteed to work in an EMP, but this is what I was thinking. So they give you a guarantee for an EMP, and then an EMP happens. Well, the company probably doesn't exist anymore, right? Just saying. Nate says he bought 4-arm forklifts to move our freeze dryer up from the basement. So the gentleman that runs the company, he invented the product. He's going to come on the show. I'm excited about it because he has a really cool story, and I don't want to, ruin it, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. It's all over the internet, where he's been fighting with Amazon because there have been cheap knockoffs using his branding for a long, long time. So he's been trying to fight that. Anyway, it's going to be interesting to see where he ends up coming in. Brian says, I talked to them in June and they really weren't able to answer my questions. Oh, Brian, electrical engineer. Thank you, sir. Yeah, absolutely. I would like to know that too. That's the thing. Most people say that there are no guarantees when it comes to an EMP or a CME. So I don't know. I would like to see how it works. It really piques my interest because I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. But yeah, so I wouldn't mind trying it out for sure. What else we got in here? Aaron says they guarantee it'll work for an EMP. Well, it's hard to say that for sure. So yeah, but I would love to try an EMP shield for what it's worth. So guys, yeah, I think we can call it an evening. We've been almost an hour and a half and it felt like 15 minutes. I've been back. I spent the day sending out stuff in the mail for you guys today. And then I did some property management, which was great. And then, yeah, tomorrow I got to head out of town to do some more property management, which I also enjoy, but it'll be a good thing. And Becky and I are going to have an evening date away. And what do we got coming up this weekend? So Saturday we are doing our next installment of the Post-Apocalyptic Book Club. We are doing Resurrecting Home, book number 5 of the Going Home series by Angry American. Chris Dixon says, I got mad at Canada Post. Yeah, I guess I was an angry Canadian today. It does not take me much to be pissed off at Canada Post, but damn it, Chris, you had to bring it up, and now you ruined me. The only place that might make me angrier than that is Canadian Tire. I mean, they have the worst customer service on the planet. Can I say that? No, I just did. But Canada Post is a close second, and they're not really a business per se, so they really don't have to have any accountability. Enough said. Move on, Tim. So, Saturday, Post-Apocalyptic Book Club, Resurrecting Home. Sunday, we are going to, I have Ryan Buford from the Next Generation podcast coming on. I believe this will be a record. He'll be on for his 3rd time, which makes him the most often visited workshop guest. I really enjoy him. He's like a brother from another mother, man. He's a good guy. He's going to come on and talk about a couple things. He's going to share, remember we did an episode on USB survival and using a bunch of USB gadgets for survival? Well, he's going to come on and talk about some of the new items he has, some of the winter swap outs he does, and we're also going to take some time and talk about apocalyptic currencies, things that have some thoughts ahead of time, but yeah, it is what it is. So check it out. I'm looking forward to it. Kentucky Sustainable Living, thank you for coming in. He says, I'm out for the night. Get a hold of me and I'll get you in touch with the EMP Shield guy. I will. Thank you. Somebody remind me of that. I'm going to copy and paste that right now, guys. But yeah, so yeah, we got a really good episode coming up, a bunch of good episodes. I renumbered all the episodes that are coming, that are in the podcast feed now. So we are getting really close to 200. We might do something special for 250. I still have a giveaway on the table that I have set up through Coast Flashlights. We'll take care of that down the road. But thank you, guys. We also have Canadian Thanksgiving coming up. So we have the real Thanksgiving coming up in October, and then that fake American Thanksgiving comes a few weeks later, and Black Friday and all that. But yeah, so that's it for me this week, guys. Also, don't forget to go by and check out Prepper Broadcast Network. Carl A.D. Brown comes on after me tomorrow with The Strange Truth, where he talks about the news stories other people don't want to, with a bent toward Christianity and interesting things that you may not hear anywhere else. So if you're interested, please take a minute and support my brothers and sisters at the PBN Network. Appreciate it. LG says, thank you for spending time chatting with us, and thank you to everyone who joined today. Yeah, what a great, man, we had a crew all across the board. Loved it. So thank you, guys. It's been great coming back. I always come back riled up because I miss you. But anyway, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.